Coptos.
Coptos. Donc, vous ne serez pas là.
Mais elle sera là à partir du 20. Elle est là.
Je vais voir qui est là.
Voilà. I need to go around because of the. No, but I need to go around because of the cable. I cannot. I need, you know. So I need to.
You need to sit there. Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were saying that we could.
No.
Quindi questo serve a me un attimo per presentare. And after I say a few words of presentation, I will sit there because I'm supposed to see.
Yes, no problem. And if for me I need to be a bit on the side, I can totally. As long as yeah. So then the people, I won't hide.
Yeah, I think if you sit there, it's good.
Yeah. Then yeah. I'm gonna pay attention. We can work.
It's nice that we started, well, I arrived here 4 months ago, and then we started right away in asking scholars passing by to give lectures. And it was a kind of experiment because I've never been done before. And also, you know, giving in foreign languages like French or English, you never know what the response might be. But as you see, people come. So
Well, English is quite now a common language, as we were saying today.
but it's
Esperanto.
a pity, as the president said, because French is so beautiful.
Well,
I
as
myself, I'm so ashamed because
I would have liked to
understand
done it in French, but I thought that maybe English was more appropriate.
Maybe for the younger generations, but
But well.
Signore e signori, buonasera, grazie per essere qui. Dopo questo brevissimo cenno di saluto passo all'inglese anche per cortesia nei confronti del nostro ospite. I'm very glad and delighted to have Cédric Gobeil here with us tonight, and not only tonight actually, he's here for this week helping us in studying the Deir El-Medina material, and it is an honor for us, for our museum, where you know that we preserve so much material coming from Deir El-Medina, coming already from dating back to the findings of Drovetti, and then of course the excavations of Schiaparelli. And it's so nice that a museum, actually, whose director discovered the village, it's so nice to host the nowadays director of the excavation project and study project in Deir El-Medina. I would like just to say a few words to present our guest. He obtained his PhD in 2008, PhD in Egyptology at Sorbonne University in Paris, writing a dissertation on the expression of joy in ancient Egypt. It was a lexicographical, philological study where he also took into account the iconicity of the language. He joined the Ifao a few months later after his dissertation, and from 2008 until 2010, he had a fellowship at the Ifao. From 2010 to 2012, he had a postdoc from Canada and a postdoctoral position at the University of Quebec in Montreal, but he remained associate scholar at the Ifao when, in 2011, he was asked to become director of the archaeological work at Deir El-Medina, and since then he's been working there. We were discussing this afternoon, he has the dream job that each one of us would like to have, is excavating for part of the year and doing research for the rest of the year, not having teaching incumbations of other kind of administrative incumbations. So we are very glad to have a true scholar here to express the result of the past 100 years excavations in Deir El-Medina, and we are also very, very grateful that you are here with us this week to help us refurbish one that will be one of the most important rooms in our new museum, the room devoted to Deir El-Medina. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Christian, for this nice presentation, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's really an honor and pleasure for me to be here tonight under the auspice of the foundation thanks to the invitation of Christian Greco here. I'm taking this opportunity of being here tonight with you on the brink of celebrating the centennial of the French archaeological mission of Deir El-Medina, to present you some of the works and discoveries having punctuated the last years of the French mission. Since, as Christian told you, I was appointed director of the mission and of the site 3 years ago, in 2011. Actually, the recent resumption of the field work in Deir El-Medina shows that this site is far from having delivered all its secrets, and that numerous questions still unanswered could soon find an answer thanks to the use of new technologies and new studies. Finally, we will see together that the numerous results freshly obtained by our mission also emphasize the archaeological potential this site is keeping for the coming years. So I would like, prior to tell you more about our own work, make a short summary, really short summary of the historical review of the past excavations that led actually to our own work. Just to show you, in order for you to have an idea, here's the concession obtained in 1916 by the French regarding the concession of Deir El-Medina, which is in the center here. And that large concession was at that time including the hill of Gournet-Moray, which is no more the case today, since the eastern slope of the hill, as is now under the concession of United States of America. Here, just to remind you what the site looked like at the beginning when Bruyère came in 1921. Actually, the site was just partially cleared that time. Few houses were visible. Few tombs also on the western necropolis here were also visible. And of course, the Ptolemaic temple was at that time, fully visible. Just to give you an idea, I've took some pictures from the archives of the French Institute, thanks to which we can see what the site looks like in 1921, the date of that, the previous map, when Brière arrived in 1921. So as you can see, there's some remains of the walls of the village here. He had begun to actually install his railway, the Décoville, in order to go with the excavation and the cleaning of the northern hill and of the western necropolis also. But as you can see, the main part of the site was at that time under the sand. Here also another view, a bit later than, maybe between 1922 and 1923. As you can see, a large part here of the north part of the western necropolis has been excavated, but still the village remains buried under the sand. Here we are in 1934. We know exactly the date because Brière was actually having a thought that the war was coming with the German, and that soon he wouldn't have time enough to clean the village, because at first he thought that he would have to take 10 years, 10 complete seasons to excavate the village. But he was forced then at that time in 1934 to excavate the village in only one season. So then at that time he was using 250 men, workmen, to do so. So he installed also a railway, and as you can see, they are working really actually slide by slide and going as fast as they could from the north to the south. And the difference between both pictures, as you can see, he just advanced from a few meters. The particularities of the work of Bernard Brière is that he was restoring the same time as he was excavating. So it was nice because, as you can see, the site remained, the view of we have today is the same as it did in 1935 then. But the problem is that did he have time actually to analyze and to study each structure? So we will see later tonight that maybe he was lacking a bit of time, but this was due to the war. So Brière left Deir El-Medina in 1952 and will never return that time, unfortunately, because of the events that occurred in Egypt at that time. But after him, only small punctual missions were driven and conducted in Deir El-Medina. And here are the results of one mission, actually, who was conducted by Charles Bonnet and Dominique Valbel in 1974 and 1975. Those results are published in the Ifao. What you see in the red are actually 18th dynasty structures buried below the Ramesside structures of the village. Because you see in black that I am not telling you anything new that you cannot, that you don't know already, is the first perimeter of the first village, actually, perimeter built under the reign of Thutmose I. But what we know about the 18th dynasty structures of the first state of the village, we don't know anything, and well, almost nothing. And the work of Brière was so quick that actually it was not able to maximize the knowledge about those structures. So then in 1974 and 75, some small archaeological surveys were conducted in the center of the village. And as you can see, here we can see a really large wall. It was at one point, the end of the precinct wall of the village. So as you can see, everything that was built here in the south was an evolution of the first state of the village. Here we have a first silo. Again, then here in the center, we are having a house, a wall, two walls, making a corner of a house, including a silo and another silo here. What this information is telling us is that at some moment during the 18th dynasty, also that you know already, there were no actual street cutting the village into halves, as well as here, the one leading to the west didn't exist because of that silo. And here in the third state, but still during the 80s. So here we go now from Deir El-Medina since 2011. So when I was appointed, I had a discussion with the actual director of the French Institute, Madame Béatrix Midan-Reins, about the way that our mission would carry things in Deir El-Medina. Because a lot of people, and even her, were thinking that Deir El-Medina was over. Actually, any field work done in Deir El-Medina would be like useless. So we started by telling that the first mission we need to carry there is to restore and preserve the archaeological structures of the site, because this site is a really unique site in Egypt, and it was starting to be a bit endangered because of the past years. While there has been a lot of heavy rains in Luxor, and then all the mud brick structures were beginning to suffer. Then second, the mission we have in mind is to enhance the site with the development of a site management program. Because when we compare Deir El-Medina, which is really unique, to some other sites, like for example, Vale of the Kings, Vale of the Queens, just to mention also Ramesseum, just to be in here on the West Bank, the site of Deir El-Medina lacks a little bit of the information. We have some information next to the tombs that are open to the public, but apart from that, there's almost no information regarding the village, the structures within the village, and also on the necropolis, which is half of the site, and also in the temple, and all the north part of the site, which include the religious and the cultic area of the site. So this is one major thing we have in mind in the next seasons to do on the site of Deir El-Medina. And finally, we still have in mind to try to continue the study of the monuments and objects in situ or preserved in the storerooms. Because here in the museums of Turin, but also in a lot of museums around the world, we see many, many objects. But as much as we can think about it, there are thousands and thousands of objects still lying in storerooms, either on the site of Deir El-Medina or in the storerooms of the Egyptian antiquity. So those objects belongs to, well, it belongs to the Egyptians, but the study of those objects belongs to us or to the people that would be willing to work with us on that precise mission. And of course, among the monuments in situ, I can just tell you about the tombs. In Deir El-Medina, there's about 480 tombs, among which 53 only are decorated. But on those, of those 53 decorated tombs, there's still like 10 or 11 tombs lacking of a good publication, good scientific publication. They have been published quickly by Bruyère, but sometimes without any pictures or just a few sketches or drawing. So this is one mission we have now in mind, is to go on the study of the monuments of Deir El-Medina. So now that you have in mind those three main axes we are leading and carry on the site, here a bit of explanation of each of them. So here's a map I've actually drawn. Of the first days I came in Deir El-Medina, I went to Deir El-Medina. In 2011, I just passed around in the village and I just took notes of all the walls that were either crashed, totally fell down, or about to fall down. And as you can see, we have just here on the north half of the village, there was more than 10 to 15% of the wall being endangered. So those red spots were the emergencies that were needed to take actions really quickly as possible. And thanks to the goodwill of the Egyptian antiquities and our workmen, the work has been done in 2 seasons only. All the red spot that you've seen has been now corrected. And if you pass by Deir El-Medina nowadays, you will see the site is clean and you will see actual view of the site a bit from the air. So I will show you a few examples, not all of them. I made a selection to tell you that the materials used in the village are both, we see both mud bricks and stones. And it was really important that we kept also those two kinds of materials and that we were reusing ancient materials as much as possible. But when you see crushed mud bricks like that, it was not possible to use them. So what we do then is to reuse the mud as to make muna. So then the ancient material is kept inside the village, inside the antiquities. So here's the before and after view of a wall inside one of the house. Here is not, it's no windows. Those are places for stelas inside a house made to put stelas and carved on both sides. So when we arrived, we saw things like that. And now here's what you can find. So the ancient lintel has been put back in place, and we tried as much as possible to, I would say, not to shock the view, but since all the restoration need to be seen and distinguished from the ancient materials, we actually had to choose a different color of the muna in order for the people to see that this is a restoration. Also here a sofa, a bench, who was really highly damaged. Here's the final result. Also here a wall. That wall used to be, well, was supposed to be complete up to the first precinct here of Thutmose I. So here's the wall once it is reconstructed. Here also that wall was really endangered because there was an entry of a cave, and actually the foundation of that wall was cracked, and then the wall was about to fall down, also having holes inside. Here's the wall. So we had to take major action, like to fill up totally the cave once we have it cleaned and then surveyed. And also all the holes inside the wall has been patched. Here also a door jamb. Now, where from the other side, the door jamb is totally repaired. Also, when it was about the time to see some small walls, it was not, we took the decision not to higher the level of the walls in order to recreate a false level or a false view of the houses of the village. But it was important for the people to read, to be able to read and to view the inner division of the village as it was in the antiquity. So we took the decision to adjust, to add just 2 levels of mud bricks or stones onto those walls in order for the people to have a better view. And as you can see, we took the opportunity to clean and to clear all the dust and the sand and the rubbish that has accumulated for more than 60 years now, and for the people to be able to see not the ancient floors, but one of the ancient levels that the people used to have in those walls, in those houses. So here that view, once the village has been cleaned from our dig house on the western slope of the West Mountain. As you can see, we can see now clearly the division. There's no wall about to fall down. Everything is now neat and clean, but it respects the view the people have of the Deir El-Medina, because forever the people we have in mind that Deir El-Medina is in ruin and that's remain, and we are not there to reconstruct or to rebuild any houses of the village, but just to maintain that state permanently. Like just lying 30 centimeters below the surface, so it's quite astonishing. But as we understood, is that this wall is in the continuity of that wall, and it has been flattened in order, during Ramesside time, to build houses in the southeastern part of the village. So this is one, and now you can see it in the drawing we made of that wall. And it also shows that some of the mud bricks were actually reddish, telling us that during the reign of Thutmose, or prior to Thutmose III, there was a huge fire in the south part of the village, forcing the people to make the west extension of the village. So we have now also traces confirming this idea. Here also, that's a nice surprise we had, is I don't have the large map of the large plan of the village, but in one room of the house northeastern tree, where Bruyère is drawing actually a staircase, and in any plan that you can see, there's a staircase drawn. That room was totally filled with dust and sand. So I asked the workmen to clean it in order for us to be able to see the staircase again. And here what we did find. We found a secondary burial, a reburial. It's not a first burial, primary burial, because we are inside a house. And thanks to our anthropologist, we are working with an American anthropologist, Dr. Ann Austin. She told me that the mummy, the human remains, were dating from the New Kingdom. So it means that at some point during an excavation, we don't know who, put the human remains there. And he decided the inside division of the room was actually useful to put on one side the burial and on the other side the artifact. Then where Bruyère took the idea that there was a staircase there, then we don't know. So that's also something we need to correct from his report and his notebooks. Here a detail of what we found. There was a fragmentary mat. There was also a net and some fragmentary potteries. In that precise house, the northeast tree, we had also the chance to find actually a lot of artifacts. And throughout our whole cleanings of the village, in only one season, so it's just 2 months, we gathered 300 objects coming from the village itself. So then confirming that since Bruyère did the cleaning of the village in only one season, he left a lot of things behind him. Among those things, of course, we all know the mud brick bearing the stamp of the cartouche of Thutmose I. We had some nice pieces of jewelry, pieces of carving, again jewelry. Here a small drawn ostracon with maybe a small puppy or a small animal. But this one is really interesting because he's bearing, actually, he's having hieratic inscriptions giving one name, Penanouket, which is also known by other artifacts and sources in Deir El-Medina. So how come those pieces were left there? It's mainly because Bruyère was too quick. So it gives us also the idea that on the coming years, we could, but maybe not, but we could actually make some nice and interesting discovery inside the village as well as outside. One of the most interesting discoveries that we made the second year is we found that inscribed limestone column base in one house. In his actual emplacement, it was right in the middle of the second room of one house. And we don't know why it was not taken by Bruyère or even mentioned by nobody. It was really the first time we saw that one. And I made a drawing for you to see. So we see one name here is actually Seba, and the rest of the name is unfortunately lost. And what is nice is that the house really close by the house of Seba, if that's the house of Seba, is the house of Hui. But actually, if we look at some sources coming from Deir El-Medina, we know one workman named Seba, and who was the son of Hui. So maybe we are dealing here with that person, but also this is just a work in progress, and more study could actually bring light to that problem. here is the work we did, well, the area where we worked this past season in last March and last April. This is the chapel known by Bruyère as the CV1, the votive chapel 1, immediately to the south of the south precinct wall of the Ptolemaic village. So the area of the chapel includes everything here. This is one of the famous Brotherhood of Fellowship chapels reported by Bruyère. There's actually more than 30 of them in Deir El-Medina. This is among one of the sites, the unique site in Egypt where you have Brotherhood chapels like that. The only other site is Amarna. But since we know that the people from Deir El-Medina went to Amarna, maybe there's also another link confirming the existence of the actual, the fact that the workmen of Deir El-Medina went to Amarna and then came back. So that chapel, unfortunately, bears no inscription, so we don't know to who, to what god it was dedicated. But I'm going to show you now, here's the restoration work that we did. So if we go back, actually here, you cannot see the silo, so we just found a silo. All the walls here were partly rebuilt, but not higher than this. And we cleaned the whole area. It was totally covered with sand and dust. So with that pictures, we're gonna actually I'm gonna tell you what we found. We found, and this is the major differences from what we see from the drawing made by Bruyère, is that there's only 2 entries to access the chapels, and those entries here are in the north. And why those are the main entries to the chapels is that because we found 2 stone-paved vestibules. So meaning actually making a difference between the outside and the inside space of the chapels. So it brings here to the front courtyard, and from that courtyard you have 2 access. One into the chapel itself, and another one to those 3 rooms on the side. Bruyère thought that those 3 rooms were maybe used to stock or to store furniture linked to that chapels. But what we found, I'm going to show you right now. Here is just a picture of one of the stone-paved vestibules. Unfortunately, it's a bit small. I thought it was a bigger screen. It was a bigger screen. So we have the 2 vestibules here. You have the silo. Here we need now, that's an update. I need to make an update of that drawing. We need to close those 2 entries. There's another vestibule here, actually making the difference between the outside of the front courtyard and the inside. And those 3 rooms are actually storerooms, because we were able to find jar emplacement and also 2 other jar emplacement, but maybe here it would be more likely than it was 2 kilns inside here at the front in order for the smoke to get out. And the chapel itself, inside, we know that that chapel was used because there's here in the antechambers, we found offering jars on the spot, really on the pathway, buried really at the ground level. So telling us that that chapel was used and it was not just a fake one. While the 2 other, those 2 ostraca were found inside the antechamber of the chapel. And if we can think that, oh, you know, there have been so many excavations in Deir El-Medina that all the materials has been mixed up. Well, actually, if we pay close attention to the text, that ostracon here is speaking about a feast and a ritual being performed on a specific day, but the day is missing. But we have clearly the name, the word festival, ritual or festival, feast. And here on that second one, it speaks about the Ba'u, so the spirits of the king Amenhotep I. So we are there with those 2 objects in closely in link of the religious life of Deir El-Medina and how come we are inside a chapel. So here I'm shifting a little bit. I'm going to tell you about here, while we're doing our restoration and all our cleaning into the whole site, we are also working with a topographer of the French Institute, and he's helping us making an up-to-date plan of the village and of the whole site. Of course, all the plans exist of the site, but to have an actual one, having also the details of the materials used inside each walls, it will help us in our strategy regarding our future restoration, but also to have in mind how could we understand the way the village has was constructed in its evolution, I mean. So while we're doing also a study inside the tombs, we choose then to start the topographical review of the tombs that are being under study with, I would say, new technologies. So here is the sample we took on the TT6 of Neb Nefer. Here is the, you can see in the clear gray is the top chapel, and on the basement here on the dark gray is the caves. Thanks to the new technology, he's able to draw, this is made like in 2 days, a quick cut from the west to the east of the whole tomb. So you have the chapel upstairs and the funerary chambers downstairs. He's also able, as you see here, he is able also using the photogrammetry method to take orthographic pictures of all the walls of the tomb. So those actually pictures cannot be seen by human eyes because the human eyes always implied like a 3D perspective, and you have some deformation. So thanks to those pictures, you could use them using Illustrator and draw on the picture as it was if you were using a plastic sheet, and it would be then perfect. So then he's able to replace those pictures inside his plan and having a really perfect 3D representation of the tomb. So we are planning to do so for the whole 53 decorated tombs of Deir El-Medina, but of course it will take time. Maybe I will not end the project, but now we're starting it now. While we are doing it also with new technologies, the survey and the epigraphic survey of the tombs, we also use, I would say, more classical method. Like in this one, like with this one here, it comes from the TT2 of Rabberenet. This is the north wall of the entry. It's a carved chapel. So then what we use is we use plastic because it's actually the wall itself can support the weight of the plastic sheet, and we pay really close attention with the Scotch tape. And we are then able to scan and to redraw with Illustrator the tomb. And this can be done also really quickly. The person who's doing it is almost done with the whole chapel of the TT2. Here's also, in 2012, I've been asked by the osteologist and anthropologist Dr. Ann Austin if there were any human remains inside tombs of Deir El-Medina. So I thought, no, of course, everything has been cleaned out. Everything is in the storerooms of the Egyptian antiquities and so on. So, but also, you know, I took some note, I read some notebooks of Bruyère, and oh, he was mentioning mummies there, mummies here. Okay, so I opened a few tombs just to check. And here was my surprise. We discovered many hundreds of mummies and human remains and pieces of skeletons inside, I would say, 10 or 12 tombs. Just the 10 or 12 I had open. But it was in so messy way and display that it was a shame to leave that there. So when Ann Austin asked me to come to help me, I said, of course, yes, you're more than welcome to do so. So here is the, you have to keep in mind that the beginning when we entered inside one room. So we have tons of wrapping, a lot of mummies being everywhere, and really in a bad state. So We began also to work with Egyptian restorers specialized in human remains. So they came especially from Cairo to helping us. So we treat them each pieces by pieces with cedar oil, and we kill every microscopic microbes that can be, and we replace them inside the tombs, because since they actually survived more than 3,000 years, this is the perfect environment, once the environment has been cleaned, to maintain the mummies. Because of course, this is a debate, of course, but actually those people and Anne Austen has been managed to reach a conclusion about the way to preserve those mummies, and it was decided to do like that. Here's some part of her work that I just want to mention quickly, because I don't want to steal the information from her. Because the purpose of Anne Austen is not only to check the mummies like that, but is to check if there's any pathology, common pathologies regarding the population of Deir El-Medina throughout the chronology. Because thanks to the mummification methods, she's able to know that the approximative dates of the mummies and the human remains. So while she's driving it, she found one scoliosis here and some bad shapes of bad states of teeth. So she's able to put numbers to each pieces that she has. She's working with the computer and a database, and then she's able to draw a statistic from everything that she's able to find. And since she's able a lot of time to conclude to the gender and the age of the population, she's then able to have really a global look about the pathologies that were actually, that the people in Deir El-Medina were having. Here's also a nice surprise we just found in one tomb. It was just lying there beneath tons of wrapping. There was that lady still wearing her wig. So it was there. So of course, things like that. It was found last year. So we are, of course, planning to take that out of the tomb to restore and put it maybe like in a museum, because the Egyptians are really willing to put that inside a museum on exhibit. Also, in a few of those tombs, some fragmentary or partial funerary equipment are still lying inside those tombs. So again, for now, we just took pictures and we informed the Egyptian antiquities. But in a really close future, we will take everything out of the tombs to put them inside the storerooms. Here also another nice sarcophagus. It was in the same tomb. So here is the room just after Anne worked. So she tagged all the boxes, and in each boxes with the tag, she's able to know exactly what the box is containing. So what is actually lying on the floor are the wrapping. And she reviewed every pieces of wrapping all together, and eventually in the future, next seasons, those wrapping will also be protected and boxed all together. For now, Anne completed her work inside the TT6, TT217, TT291. And in the future season, she is planning to work in the TT298 and inside the P1022, which we think still contains tens and tens of mummies. So if we pay close attention to Briard notebooks, but that's going to be also a good surprise maybe, or maybe a bad one. So among all the discoveries that we made inside those tombs that we thought that were emptied by Briard, we found a particularly interesting funerary shroud. So that shroud, we were happy enough, is 102 centimeters long by 35 centimeters wide. And those kind of shrouds are known as Osiris shroud. And they are made only with a single red ink line. And also it gives the name and titles of the deceased. But usually, all the ones that are known, there's about 20 or 30 of them known around the world. they come from the, well, they date from the 21st dynasty. That one has been found inside a Ramesside tomb, but also we thought that maybe it was mixed up. But when we pay close attention to the style of the face, and if we compare, when we compare it to the 21st dynasty's examples, it's not possible that this shroud dates from the 21st dynasty. It's clearly New Kingdom, so maybe let's say 20th dynasty, just to be close from the 21st. And if we also pay close attention to the name, so the M is missing, but it's clearly Imen and Muya. So again, a Ramesside name well attested in Deir El-Medina at that time. And also the title, of course not, we cannot see it with that here, but it's really small. He was the chief or the supervisor of the room of the Temple of Amun. So what room and what Temple of Amun, then we don't know. But then this has been found this year, so it's then again a work in progress. But we're happy enough to find things like that, something like that. And the restoration of the whole chapel. And it was accepted by the Egyptian, and that's what we did. So here you see the new roof being replaced by Egyptian workmen. So we did only raise the level of one layer of mud brick. Here was the inside of the chapel. It was really in a pity state when we entered the first time. Full of rubbish was inside at that time, and a lot of dust and sand. It was in really a pity state. And here's now the inside of the chapel once it has been restored. So we, in all the steps, after we did put the roof, we installed the electricity and the lighting system to allow the visitors to come in. Also, we restore all the walls with Muna in order for them to be really hardly restored, because they were about to fall down inside the chapel. We also put down a wooden floor in order for the people, when the visitors will come in, they won't make any dust that could cover, again, the paintings. And of course, all the paintings were cleaned by Egyptian restorers working with us. So as you can see here is the small walls dividing the pronaos from the naos being restored by an Egyptian restorer. Already you can see the difference between before and after. So I'm going to show you the difference. This is the wall prior to its cleaning, and here's the wall now. So the colors are now brighter, all the details are more precise, and so and so. We left 3 small squares as witnesses of how the wall was before. So just in order for the people to see our work and then the evolution we did inside that chapel. Also another nice surprise that we had inside this chapel was on the north wall of that chapel. Is just here. That wall was never drawn by Briard. There's a small sketch in one of his reports, but actually it's false. So it was the first time that we were able to see it like that. And while the Egyptians were cleaning it, we were fortunate enough to find for the first time, it was never seen before, some text. Is it a graffiti? Is it a dedication? Is it a real text drawn from the first time of the chapel? Then we don't know. So again, we still need to do some further cleanings in order to have a precise idea of what's happening here. But we already see 2 or 3 signs here, so it's quite exciting. But this is also a work in progress that's going to be done in the future next seasons. So I'm about to show you the drawings we made from that chapels. So here it is the drawing of the north wall. As you can see, what is interesting is that the easter we go, the people are growing in size. As you can see, the level of the quilt. And the last one is seating in front of 2 altars. Here we are in the east wall, but the south half of the east wall, we see 2 feet going that way, being the naos, actually in front, in direction of the naos, which is just to the left of both feet. And now on the north half of the east wall, we have here the key to the dedication of the chapel and to who that chapel was dedicated then. We can see here a small sanctuary and here a mummified god on a pedestal. Among all the mummified god that we know that lies just in front, well, yeah, in front of the small sanctuary, we think about Min, about Amun Min Kamutef, whatever. And we have the confirmation that this god is really one of those 3 gods, because we have the ribbon, which is not touching the floor, but it's clearly there, just behind him. And because we can think about Osiris and Ta as mummified god, but they never have the ribbon behind them. The only gods having the ribbons behind them are either Min, Amun Min, or Amun Min Kamutef, or an Amunitiphalic form of god here. Fortunately, there's no text confirming either form of the god, but this now can tell us, well, tells us that we can no more call that chapel the chapel of the Opet or the feast of the Opet. It would better be the chapel of Min or Amun Min Kamutef or whatever. This also is a work in progress. So apart from all our work, we are also working with new technologies, as I was mentioning during the introduction of this lecture. So here, as you can see, is the south wall of the chapel of the TT2B belonging to the family of Rabbi Renet. So close to the entrance of the tomb of Rabbi Renet. So like that, we cannot see many things. Well, if we look close, we can distinguish some reddish line here and here, a bit there, but it's really really fuzzy, and it's for the one just going quickly just in front, we could see nothing precisely. But thanks to some software, it's called D-Stretch, that one we use. It's a filtering software using some information contained in some small pixels. We can enhance some colors. And so now we can definitely see the figures of a seated Osiris. And actually, just for you to know that here there's 3 statues carved in the back of the chapels, and they are at the same level as the Osiris. So maybe it was like a preparatory drawing made to complete the wall, but actually it was never completed. And if we make a zoom, we can clearly see that that figure of Osiris was drawn 2 times, so there was also a corrected image, a revised image of the Osiris. And in front of him, in a totally another size, there's a king or somebody lying in the prayer attitude just in front of him. Then since it's not the same size, and it actually, we think, this is the idea we have, it doesn't belong to the same time of when the Osiris was drawn. So maybe this is a votive graffiti, as we can see many in Deir El-Medina. And on that precise subject, we are working with a maître de conférence in La Sorbonne, Dr. Chloé Ragazzoli. She's working with us in Deir El-Medina on all the votive graffitis covering the sites. So this will be also in the future years really an interesting project that we are leading. So here we are on the subject of the site management. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a lack of information panels in Deir El-Medina, and really I would say dynamic ones, so more modern ones, with correct information. So also with the Egyptians, we are working on the installation of some information panels throughout the site. And we began 2 years ago by installing one panel. Unfortunately, we need to do it often because we didn't find yet a correct way to keep the colors there, because with the sun every 6 months the colors are fading away. So this is the first panel concerning the house of Senegem. So as you can see, all information panels will always tells you where you are in the village or in the site, and will be in 3 languages, and will have maximum information, but really short but precise information for the people to have really the most essential information while they are visiting our site. This season also we had the pleasure to install a first scale model. It has been made by an Egyptian artist for 1 year now. And this one is just, we decided to leave it in white, because the purpose of that model, scale model, was to give an overview of the architecture of the village, of the first state, well, of the first perimeter of the village. So as the panels will tell you, the inside division are of course Ramesside, but it gives you the first perimeter, and it will become complete next year by a second scale model, giving that time in actually a reconstitution of the daily life. So of one house coming from that model. So of one house, it's from the Bruyère sketches. And we actually have now people going inside the house and outside. So it gives you then an idea of how were the houses inside the village, as for the colors, the materials, and what kind of objects were inside those houses. So it will be installed next to the first scale model, just in the entrance of the site of Deir El-Medina with all the text. It gives you some information, but it will only be partials. And if you cannot go on the site to check with archaeological surveys or excavations, it will only remain on the state of the ideas. So we will begin next season for our work of looking for the retem and the input. So as you can see, we began to, we'd say, to clean the area, to prepare the area, because we will conduct a geophysical survey prior to any archaeological or surveys or excavation. And also we will, why we choose some areas priorly to others is thanks to the notebooks of Bruyère, because in some of his notebooks, some information has never been published in the published reports. And it gives, from time to time, the impressions that you have walls closing the site. And it doesn't give any information about this wall or other walls. That could be, because as you can see, here's the precinct of the Ptolemaic temple. So we are clearly here at the beginning of the entrance of the site. So it doesn't give any information about that. So we will go further to check what's happening with that wall and other walls that could be interpreted as inbet or inboot. Here is just to give you an idea, well, actually this is the plan, the map of Deir El-Medina that everybody knows. And unfortunately, there's the Ptolemaic temple that came right in at the top of some New Kingdom structures. And for the people, it's quite difficult to have a precise idea of what the site was looking like before the coming of the Ptolemaic people. So I tried, but this is only a matter of actually looking at notebooks and compiling notes and idea of Bernard Bruyère. So I was able to make a restoration and to give an idea of what the site was looking like during the Ramesside period. So we have now, it's really obvious, we have a wall here closing the site. So that's going to be something really interesting to check in the future years. We have here, this is the temple of Hathor, the chapel of Hathor of Ramesses II. Here the chapel of Hathor of Seti I. And in between, this is now totally destroyed. This is the chapel of Hathor of Meremta. And we achieved these conclusions thanks to some discoveries Bernard Bruyère made with all the objects linked to the god Hathor and bearing the name of Meremta. And in behind here, now it's totally destroyed. This was the temple of Ramesses II, of the chapel of Hathor, of which we know almost nothing. And here, just in front, is the famous Renou of Ramesses II, connected to the temple, connected to the chapel of Hathor. And also, what is clear, actually we can see clearly from here, is that all the staircase leading to the temple marks kind of a pathway leading from the north entrance of the village to the wadi here. So we have like sort of a way, clean way here. And also all the east structures are also stopping almost at the same level. So also it's something that we're going to check in the future years, that if this was the precise pathway actually that the workmen used to go to work in Gurna, because we know that they were going to the north. And what is interesting here is that outside that wall, we have here some water basins connected with jar emplacement. So as in Amarna, we have what Barrichem called the Zir area. We could have some kind of a Zir area here also in Deir El-Medina, but this is the first time this idea is coming public, so I'm waiting for your, maybe your idea about that. But this area, we're going to check also what's happening here. And Bruyère found two small canals, caniveaux, or water rigole, in order to evacuate the water, meaning that at some point there was a lot of water going on in that area. And we have here those three specific rooms built with really large walls. So what is that structures? I can tell you. I have maybe in mind, maybe it's part of the Retem, but maybe it's totally something else. But it seems also connected with that wall, which looks like it's closing the site. And here, just to let you know, of course, is the temple of Amun of Ramesses II. So we are all here in the Ramesside period structures. So just to let you know, it won't be the final images. This will be the zone the area that we're gonna prospect, that we're gonna survey during our geophysical survey. It's in between the both hills of Gournet Moraï and Sherab del Gourna. But also you must have here a little bit on the pathway in red. This is lacking, actually the pathway I just showed you. So it's covering a total of 24 acres. So it's quite big, but as the people that are coming next season, they're working quite fast. This could be done in 12 to 14 days approximately. So if there's a result, we're gonna have it very quickly. So just also finally to give you an idea of the area, of course you know it quite well, why it has never been surveyed by nobody else is because Bruyère told when he actually put his Cavalier de Blé here, he performed some survey trenches to check if he was not covering any ancient materials, any ancient structures, and he said that he found nothing. But since he did it quickly again, and as we see that he did his work quickly in the village and we gain some information, maybe here also we're about to gain some information. But that is going to be the subject of years to come, and for the future project, I hope that I'm going to be able to come over again to let you know about them. So thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you so much for your wonderful and thorough lectures. So full of inspiration for all of us, and also, well, thanks for all the work you're doing, and really 360 degrees work. So
taking into account also restoration, asset management, and also adding all layer new discoveries. For me, it's very exciting because there are all ways of connections between our collections, what you're doing, and all ideas that are coming up. For us, also for what we want to do in the new museum, so I hope we will see you very often as a guest here, and all the public will see Cédric next year visiting our museum, because as some of you might know, we will give a tablet to everybody who will visit our museum, and some scholars, international scholars, will fill the specialization, so Cédric will inform our public about his ongoing work in Deir El-Medina. But I would like to give the microphone to some of you if you might have any questions. So, are there any questions? Yes.
You can ask, of course. Yes.
There are all kinds of reconstructions.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other question? Yes.
Well, you mentioned that on the base of the column where there is the name of Seba. I was just wondering, why would they write the name of Seba on the base of a column on which a column would put? No? So was it the workmen who prepared the base who were just writing the name of the owner?
It is something we see in Deir El-Medina quite commonly. There's 5 or 6 examples where you have in houses, where you have the inscribed column base. And why it was actually just beneath the column itself, this is maybe a like of an idea that the owner is supporting, is carrying on, is making work and function the house where it is. Maybe it has some magical properties, or maybe a cultic property or meaning. But this is also something nice for us in order to identify the owners, the homeowners of the houses of Deir El-Medina. Because, of course, this information was skipped. I didn't mention it. We know by now like 15 or 16 houses, homeowners, thanks to information depending of largely of the stone column base, but also door jamb and lintels found in place. But a lot of times, those elements might have moved. Like, for example, a column base could have been moved at one time or another. But we just can assume that the column base has stood in place for a long time and during the whole use of the house. But this also is just, again, speculation. But then the column base we found had another one to the list. And maybe in the future years, we will find other ones. But then regarding your question, I think it is serving some, I would say, cultic or household energy support. Yeah. I'm not touching wood. Yes, there's no wood, fake wood. But anyway, yes, we were really lucky and fortunate enough not to have any troubles. The people there are really quiet and really pacific, and they don't understand still today why the tourists don't come anymore, because they said, well, we are clean, we're good, that the sun is shining, we're waiting for them, and they don't come. How come? It's not because you have some small troubles in Cairo that you can have an impact on the whole country. But it's the way it is with the media and the publication and the diffusion of the information. This is so bad. But alhamdulillah, we're working really nice in Luxor now, so hope it's going to remain like that. No problem.
Well, thank you again, Cédric.
Thank you very much.
Not only for the lecture, but for the work you'll do with us next week.
Thank you.
Grazie a tutti. Vi vorrei ricordare che la prossima conferenza sarà il 22 settembre, tenuta dal professor Gallo, che ci informerà sulle sue novità, attività di scavo ad Alessandria. Poi invece l'11 ottobre sarà Neil Spencer del British Museum, che ci parlerà della sua attività di scavo al Sudan, da Mara West. Grazie a tutti, arrivederci.
I would like so much, but I asked for the price. And I
But there